My name is Marc, and this is a podcast that I created with two of my friends, Thomas Patterson and Townsend Colley, for our Civics and Gov final project. And we decided to do ours on the topic of gang violence. And I'm going to start off by giving you a little bit about what gangs are and how they are formed and how they function. And one thing I noticed while I was researching is that gangs function like a family. From numerous sources I've found, experts have said that gangs will function like a family because that is the major reason people join gangs, because they feel outcast and socially unaccepted. So they join gangs to give them a sense of belonging and social acceptance. And that is one of the leading factors in why people join gangs. There's other reasons. They join for economic gain. From my research, I've seen that they will join because it gives them access to substances such as narcotics. It allows them to openly commit crimes and have no fear of being charged. They join specifically so they can commit crimes is one reason. They join because gangs are made to seem cool. It's really sad that that's what most pop culture will do. They'll talk about the gang life and romanticize it, when really it's quite the opposite. Most people who join gangs almost immediately regret it, from most reports. And as I was researching, I came across a research paper by Dr. Michael Carley, and it was called Into the Abyss, and he had his own description of what gangs are. He described them as a group of two or more people that are often seen or associated with each other. Not necessarily committing crimes, mind you, but they're just often seen hanging around each other. He said that it becomes a criminal gang when they start using this image of them and their bond as kind of a safety net for committing crimes like robberies or drug peddling. And also during my research, I watched it was a good documentary. It's called The Interrupters, and it is about a group called the Violence Interrupters in Chicago, I believe. And if you want to watch it for yourself, you can go find this on Frontline PBS. There will be a link in the description. But it's about this group interrupting the violence in Chicago, in their town. And they're speaking out against gangs, and they aren't necessarily saying break up the gangs, we don't want you here. They're saying at least stop the fighting. Let's make a start at keeping this a safer place. Stop the fighting. We don't want this. This is bad for us. This is bad for our image. You're just hurting us. You're hurting ourselves. And if you want to watch that, there will be a link in the description, Frontline PBS. But if you enjoy the podcast, please remember to comment down below. We would love to read some of your feedback. But now I'm going to give the podcast to one of my friends, and he will tell you more.
Hello, my name's Tommy, and I'm here today to talk about some of the statistics of gangs. Gangs nowadays in America are responsible for a wide variety of the crimes. Depending on the area, gangs are responsible for anywhere from 48% to 96% of all crimes in America. 96% of all crimes is quite a large proportion. In addition to this, some reports have shown that gang violence is responsible for nearly tripling the amount of juvenile homicides. According to the FBI, there's around 33,000 gangs with combined 1.4 million members, which is a very staggering figure. Just to put that into perspective, 1 in every 227 Americans is a gang member, whereas only 1 in 354 is a police member. When you think about it, these statistics are probably skewed as well, as the large variety of gang members are probably not being reported, judging as most gangs keep their operations under the radar, so to speak. In order to better understand gangs, though, you need to take a look at where gangs originated from. A long time ago, when immigration to America was much more widespread, there were many people of many ethnicities and groups all together in small spaces in cities. Of course, due to human nature, these groups did not get along. As a result, they tended to form groups of people like them, which evolved into today what we know as gangs. Nowadays, though, while ethnicities and minorities may group together, the primary reason people join gangs is for things like money and drugs. In the present day, people join gangs for a variety of reasons, but most of the time it's due to things like lack of supervision, instability in their family and school, violent people around the house, being part of a minority, lack of jobs, poverty, violent crimes committed by a rival gang, low self-esteem, hyperactivity, lack of role models, a need for money, or just protection. In addition to this, gangs tend to provide people a sense of family, status, intimidation of others. A gang may be part of a family tradition, or they just might be getting drugs out of the gang. What these people don't realize is that the negatives of gang much outweigh the positives. Joining a gang is very dangerous for a multitude of reasons. First of all, you're under constant risk of attack from rival gangs. These attacks may range anywhere from being beaten to shot and killed. Even then, your own gang might not even protect you that well. Gangs tend to have members fight each other quite a bit, so who might be your closest ally stabs you in the back the next day. After this, you have risk of dying from drugs, being attacked by the police, or dying while committing a crime. Overall, being part of a gang may be cool in today's society, but if society as a whole can just learn to reject gangs, we can really much lower the amount of crimes in America. Gangs are a very big issue, but the thing is, they're a treatable issue. If you can get people to realize the harm they're doing to others and themselves when they join a gang, and just explain to them why it's such a bad thing, we can really fix the gang issue. However, if you're going to take an adult or a person of high authority and speak to a bunch of younger people about why gangs are bad, of course they're going to just ignore it and not listen. Because of this, it's good to try and get other people to try and connect and just get to people and say, hey, look, what you're doing is wrong. If people can just go up to gang members and show them some of the statistics of how terrible gangs are, it'll surely make them reconsider. With a shocking number of 2,363 gang-related homicides in 2012, which, might I add, is probably a fifth of the number of reported homicides, judging as most homicides done by gangs end up being just classified as normal homicides without relation to gangs. If people can just realize how bad gangs are, we can really eliminate this problem in America.
When you tell someone about gangs in Bethlehem, they'll probably tell you that there's no such thing, but this is simply not the truth. If you look up gang activity in Bethlehem, there are thousands of newspaper articles, yet this problem is still overlooked, simply because no one wants to believe it is true. Gangs have become such a problem in Bethlehem that since the late 90s there have been over 200 different gangs in Bethlehem, according to the police. These aren't small gangs either. 20 of the largest nationally recognized gangs reside in at least 21 of the 42 counties in East Pennsylvania. This leaves children to be easily exposed to gang violence. We talked with Officers Shirk and Officer Holschwander of the Bethlehem Police to discuss the nature of this ever-growing problem of gang violence. What do you think gangs use kids that are under the age of 18 for?
They usually use them to sell drugs, petty theft, minor crimes sometimes. So usually they use juveniles for the activities that fund the gang, like Officer Shirk said, drugs, selling drugs, theft, sometimes robberies, stuff to that effect.
Okay. The fact that gangs use kids for money-making ventures such as drugs comes as no surprise. Brown University did a study of a now-defunct gang that held a significant market share of drugs in a city. Their monthly revenue ranged between $18,500 and $68,400. How do gangs recruit kids?
They use social media a lot and even handing out flyers in schools. A lot of it's word of mouth. So, just who you know, who you grew up with, who's in your neighborhood, friends from school, stuff like that.
Why do you think these kids are compelled to join the gang?
A feeling of belonging, maybe just the friendship. The draw of money, making a quick buck here and there. They see some of the larger gangs, they see the older members, they're wearing nice clothes or have nice cars, and they want to be a part of that.
Have you ever seen any kids with a gang?
They're 13. Yeah, they're there.
What do you do when you see that type of situation?
It depends if they're involved in criminal activity or not. Most of the time, gang activity can be dealt with in the school through counseling. As far as the police department point of view, we just try to educate kids on the harms of gangs and the lifestyle that it leads.
Do you think gang activity is prevalent in Bethlehem as opposed to an area that I live in, such as like Upper Saucon?
They tend to kind of surface around the bigger populated areas, but they have no boundaries. They can spread into your area and all over.
Do you think that gang activity has been up or down recently?
It always comes in waves. It's up for a while and then it's down, and then it goes back up. It depends on what the cycle is. One gang will come in and take over another gang's territory. It's always in a cycle. It's up and down.
Do you think there are gangs within the schools in Bethlehem?
Yeah, they're there. Some of them aren't open about it, and others are open about it. But a small portion are there. But the school has policies against that. What they're wearing and how they affiliate with other students there. So, but when they get out, when they leave school, that's a different story.
There are several ways to try and avoid gang violence in youth. Some of the things that don't work include peer mediation, peer leader groups, peer counseling, and programs such as DARE. Things that do work include school-based social skills training, parent training, and home visitations. Again, we would like to thank Officer Shirk and Officer Holschwander for allowing us to interview them.